Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Dysfunction. I understand young Dolph is to have Airways Boulevard renamed after him, but then again, I did a little survey and there are a whole lot of 25-year-olds and under who have never heard of young Dolph. So what was he, a gang member who became an entertainer? And he did a few things, but you know, like preachers used to preach, you know, you can't buy your way out of hell when you've earned a good way into it. Not saying he did, but ex-gang members who still have those ties and all kinds of other things that go on, you know, they kind of bring chaos to their entertainments in one sense, and that's not good. We need to start making it popular and the hip thing, the in thing, whatever you want to turn it, to be an employed young man who is earning a living, who is not trying to find some female to simp and pimp off of, and pull their weight. We need young girls who are not trying to emulate being Cardi B or Lizzo, and start pushing decency and raising the children that they have, rather than talking about they're entitled and need to go party. No, when you have these babies, you commit yourself to raising them, not to having a good time. That's
well,
later.
Judge, you brought up young Dolph. I'm going to bring him up too, but do you feel like this case really going to be officially solved, or is it going to be like a Tupac Biggie situation where 25 years later, people still talking about what really happened November 17th?
I haven't been involved in this stuff for a long, long time. Let me say this. If somebody doesn't run their mouth off and there's no personal connection between the shooters or the murderers and the victims, most murders aren't going to be solved. Usually what happens is somebody's trying to hit on some chick who's a junkie and she wants to get out of a case, so she tells on him. And then even then, if he kept his mouth shut, they wouldn't have much of a case. But most of these people that get brought in punk out and start squealing, snotting up, and crying, and everything else, and they tell and spill their guts, so they get the case.
But I know, like on social media, like, some of these guys very effeminate in terms of how they carry themselves, not necessarily being gay, but just they're very emotional and they're very they trigger, they're easily triggered. But a lot of them seem like they like to snitch on themselves on social media.
Hood rat is a lesbian in a boy's body.
But a lot of them seem like they like to snitch on social media.
Typical hood rat is a lesbian in a boy's body.
Okay.
Lesbian butch type sexually, but one's got boy plumbing, one's got girl plumbing, and if a fairy something or another waved a magic wand and the lesbian woke up with a penis tomorrow, there'd be no difference. See, manliness is making where you live like and prey off of it or poison it. And a lot of that drug thing is just people don't want to say, hey, let me take this pistol, bam, or take a heavy overdose and kill myself right off. They want to do it in a socially acceptable way. And somebody says, oh my God, drugs have claimed another victim in South Memphis. No, some fool was not trying to get high. He was trying to die. And going around messing with everybody is a form of the same kind of suicide that they've labeled suicide by a cop. You want to die, but you can't bang on yourself. So what you do is you don't provoke a cop, you provoke one of your neighbors to kill you. Meanwhile, if you take his life, so what? You don't care because you don't like your uncle.
Yeah, my thing about the young Dolph, like it was a street naming, but it was not an official street change. It was an honorary street naming. So, because my understanding, the black and gold is honorary, and the green and white is the official street. So it's still Airways and Dunn and all that. But I had the chance to go to the street naming ceremony, and I talked to young Dolph parents and thanked them for not, I guess pulling out and swallowing, because he was a crack baby. He talked about being a crack baby. So he was really a miracle. He was the rose that grew from concrete. And he was about family. Like, he really believed, he loved his children. He distanced himself from people in his inner circle who did not take care of their family. He said, if you can't take care of your family, you're not a man, you're not a king. So it's like, but at the same time, Judge, these guys are millionaires and they're dying like this. These entertainers. I can't imagine Jackie Wilson and Sam Cooke fighting like this, or Otis Redding and James Brown.
My problem, I've been here a half century, and I'm still waiting for them to name a street after A.L.L, a street after H.T. Lockett, a street after Russell Sugarman. You see, some of these greats who broke down some of the barriers so we all can go where we all want to be in this town. We haven't honored them. A.W. Willis has a bridge going over to Mud Island across from the pyramid. He's another one. And there are some greats in this town who've received no honor. I think that's a shame. There are some things that I want to point out to all of those out there who are contemplating their immediate life and they're in their late teens, early 20s. Young Dolph was an entertainer.
Judge, your sound.
Kicking down
Judge, can you start back over? Your sound came in and out when you was talking about Young Dolph.
Okay, that's strange when we start talking about these things. Young Dolph wasn't necessarily a bad person. I don't know him, but he was an entertainer. And understand, entertainers are not making your world better. They aren't kicking in the doors. They aren't breaking down the barriers. They aren't changing the laws. They aren't going out and doing the organization. And there's still this problem with 30-some shots, 20-some shots, or 200, depending upon the source, fired into your van limo in North Carolina. And there's still the thing about getting shot 3 times out in Hollywood before you finally get gunned down at a cookie shop on Airways Boulevard. What's going on here? We have some older generation entertainers around here that are notorious to those who know them and know of them for cutting corners, and they owe a lot of people a lot of money, and they owe all of those sums for various nefarious reasons. Now, one other point is that you reap what you sow. And sometimes you can't get away from what you have laid out as a foundation early in life. It comes back to haunt you. Now, giving away a few turkeys is one thing, but how many are going to give away 100? That's 100 people. There are a lot of things around this town that need to be dealt with that impact tens of thousands of people. And what about the manhood? Look at what happened out here at one of our local high schools that selected for homecoming queen somebody that ought to have been on the football team. What's going on with that? I won't mention them, but we know who we're talking about. What's going on with to what used to be a decent family restaurant, and now it's turned into a 5-star Section 8. Somebody's yelling from one side of the parking lot about to the other about did you get some Timbadica last night? Or what happens when you walk into a restaurant and there are a number of women sitting at a table with 7 or 8 brats with them who are out of control, running all over the restaurant, creating havoc, and there's no discipline, and people are getting ready to leave because they didn't come in to pay good money to put up with that. You see, what about those things? those kind of negatives need to be changed, and the community needs to act like it respects itself.
I don't, like you talked about, I've been going to restaurants and seeing them women with them all them kids running around, running wild, even going out and trying to deal with our young people. If you're afraid to even approach the young people and tell them, hey, you might want to do something, don't do that, and they'll curse you out or do something worse to you. I'm talking about, it's like you
Well, let's
see
put it
young
this
black
way.
males,
I tell them all the time, young man, I don't think you need to do that. Who the hell you think you are, Judge Joe Brown? You Judge Joe Brown, we'll see you get a rep. But then again, you might go out with some of your homeboys like, hey, don't do this. You see, quite frankly, some of the grown men need to beat the shit out of some of these young men and show them what public peace, dignity, and order is. That might be playing kamikaze, but it needs to happen. And some of these grown men who have decent records and no criminal backgrounds need to be armed. And some of us need to continue with our studies in the manly art of self-defense. I've been taking martial arts for 55 years. I told somebody, I said, it'd be very embarrassing if a 70-something-year-old man whipped your young ass, wouldn't it?
Well, the problem with the young people, though, be honest with you, I just had a high school classmate. Her nephew just got killed because he won a fight. He beat the dude up, and the dude went to get his friends and a gun or two, and they shot him up. I mean, you can't even, because like everybody got this participation trophy.
If you jack somebody
they're not
up,
used to losing. They don't know how to lose with dignity.
Once you make this,
that's the problem.
See, once you make the strike, you leave. Don't leave a target there. And then you call the police.
But the problem with these kids,
this
though,
dude
a lot of young
attacked
guys,
me, and I had to defend myself. And from looking at the videos, most of these guys can't fight anyway.
That's the problem too. But I'm saying they can't take a loss either. That's the problem. Yeah. They don't know how to, like, I'm gonna lick my wounds and come back and try again, or just forget about it and be friends, or just don't be friends.
They're punked out. They lack manhood.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's what I'm talking about. They don't know how to take a loss.
I used some years ago, 25 years ago, I found out very quickly these guys would not fist fight toe to toe. Talking about their pretty faces and their game with the ladies. No, man, that sounds punked out, man. You ain't fist fight. You can't handle one. You may get your ass whipped, but I mean, the point is at least you put up a good one, and the person you fought with knows that there is going to be some damage that accrues if you get into one. So shake hands and, you resolved it. They got all these. See, what's going on is 40-some years ago, 45 years ago, 40 years ago, 38 years ago, what you're looking at is crazy mama living over in the projects got mad at the next door neighbor because the next door neighbor made eyes at her boyfriend of the time, who she broke up with 2 weeks later and hadn't seen in a year and a half, but she's kept a grudge, so she throws some battery acid in the next door neighbor's face just to be evil.
Wow.
See, that's what we see. There's no man-to-man punch it out. It's this stuff where you throw battery acid or boiling grits and molasses in somebody's face because you just plain evil. You playing bitch.
Yeah, but Judge, look at what's going on this generation and younger, where you got
you got to do something about it.
Well, I'm just saying you got somebody like
let this stuff keep going.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, you got rappers like Young Dolph. These are multi-millionaire guys. They successful, but yet they still be bickering and arguing over beef. And everybody making money. Why y'all upset or angry? You got a guy named Black Youngster who's a grown man, right? He made a diss song about Young Dolph. He did a video recently showing him basically pissing on Young Dolph's grave, this Thornton thing in the back of this mausoleum. And people say, well, he's making a diss track about Young Dolph. He's a millionaire. And he never, my understanding, he never met Young Dolph, but he's defending his boss of his label, Yo Gotti, who had issues with Young Dolph. But these guys are multi-millionaires. I couldn't imagine Sam Cooke trying to fight Jackie Wilson or Otis Redding getting into it with James Brown. and trying to kill each other.
But Otis Redding and Jackie Wilson weren't multimillionaires. You have to understand there's a worldwide market out there because the Western world has been trying to destroy traditional masculinity for a number of reasons. All over the world, from Japan to Moscow, from Beijing to Berlin to Paris, there are young males who want the trappings of masculinity. Hip-hop gangster rap video satisfies it very well. So they do this techno stuff for the last 25 years. They've been jumping up and down in place all out of rhythm to the music, but they know gangster rap, hardcore video. So the people that finance it and distribute it don't want it changed because don't mess with a proven product. Actually, what you see in most of the rap video that you don't see that much of now isn't very masculine, it's feminine. And the women up there, contrary to what the feminists want to claim, are not some object of sexual fantasies by the rapper. They are his grandmama, aunts, and mama. And if you found grandmama, aunts, and mama out and back of where they live in July with your mama knit booty shorts on and little halters, it might not look quite as good, but they'd be trying to act and dress the same as the dancers on stage. So that's his June Cleaver. It's a little sick. You know, Oedipus looms. So
I mean,
it's really kind of weird, the sickness that's out there. And it hasn't changed in 40 years. People, oh, it's changed a lot. No, it hasn't. It's fundamentally the same. There's a historical fact. For the 20th century, music changed about every 10 to 15 years significantly. It hasn't, except the lyrics have gotten foul, worse. But I mean, rap is just basically poetry to music, taken to an extreme degree. Hell, you can go back to Louis Armstrong and say he rapped, only he played his own accompaniment of trumpet. And you've got Gil Scott Heron from up here in Jackson, Tennessee, with the Jazz Messengers back in 1968, 9, 70, 71, 72. And they had conscientious rap. You had that little ego pity teddy bear rap that you had back in the late mid 70s, and the whole thing really got interesting when in New York they had these block parties, and you'd have somebody spin records and they'd start talking on the microphone while they were spinning records, and then they had contests in New York to see who had the best dialogue, and that's how rapping started as it's known now, but most people don't know that.
But people trying to say that rap was invented in Jamaica, Judge. We think about that. They're trying to say that rap started in Jamaica, hip hop. What's your take on that?
I don't buy that, but I would say this. There is an exchange between the Caribbean Americans and Black Caribbean Americans and Black Americans. And a great deal of that has to do with the fact that the United States, Jamaica, man, Bahamas, Barbados, man, all used to be English colonies, part of the same thing. So there is a connection. The main difference is that in the early, mid 19th century, the Maroons in Jamaica got themselves free. They didn't need an Emancipation Proclamation and 13th Amendment. So it is what it is. It all comes from the same place.
Okay, that's a good note. But yeah, but I just like, it's weird now because, you know, 50 years ago, you had a Curtis Mayfield, a Marvin Gaye. They were balanced. You don't have balance no more, it seems, of this music, especially this rap stuff right now. And what do you think about all these rappers getting killed lately? Not just Young Dolph, but you had the one in L.A. got killed on the concert, Draco the Ruler.
What you sow. There are some traditional ones around here, like Al Green owes a whole lot of people a lot of money, and sometimes when they run into him at an airport and say, hey, man, he turns around and runs down the concourse.
He said Jesus is calling, though.
Yeah, I guess Jesus is calling, boy, you better come here. The sound of my voice.
Do you think he had something to do with that girl
I
getting
named his
killed in his
name
house,
because
his
he owes
mansion?
me some big money too. But I wouldn't do that to him. I'm not that kind of person.
You know, Al Green had that situation
And
with the
some
old
others
girl.
might.
You think he had something to do with that old girl dying,
Mm-hmm.
or you think that she killed herself in his mansion?
I don't know.
See, I
That
heard
ain't
all
part
types
of
of
my
stories about
business.
that. Uh-huh.
What you're talking about used to be my day-to-day business. That's work.
Yeah. But
Look,
Memphis is a like you.
I think I handled 42 first-degree murder cases as a defense lawyer where the death penalty was demanded, and I used to train the capital defense team for the public defender's office. Here in Tennessee, they have a thing where even if you can afford an attorney on a first-degree murder case, if you can't afford two, you're entitled to have one appointed, but you can't sit as even the second chair defense counsel on a capital murder case if you don't have X number of jury trials for robberies, rapes, burglaries, that kind of thing under your belt. So I'd always sit as first chair while somebody broke in as second chair. And then you can't be first chair lead counsel in one of these cases until you've been supervised as such by somebody that knows what he's doing. So I would sit as first to second chair and then had my own cases I tried as in private practice. And I tried a whole lot of other murder cases, and none of my clients are on death row. But, you know, murder was my business. So, yeah, but I mean, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm retired.
Let me ask you this:
All
like we talking
about
about
it.
entertainers. Well, we talking about. Do you think it's unusual for like record labels to take out big insurance policies on their entertainers, like Young Dolph allegedly, the record label
No,
they hit in business with?
the CBS had a 10 or $20 million insurance policy on my life. Hell, they make a lot of money. You look at as a talent, and the show or the thing you do is looked at as a property.
So that's not unusual. So something
Money.
happened, an accident, people shouldn't be suspicious. Oh, they got a big insurance policy on these people.
That's been the case for years. Like, for example, the guy that started all this craziness in news reporting, so it is not news reporting, but on the spot, instantaneous editorialization, was from L.A., George Putnam.
Okay.
George Putnam was on KTLA, no, excuse me, KTTV Channel 11 in L.A. And this reporter's humble opinion. He'd start that in the early 60s. How did he get to that? He was independent because he was Amelia Earhart's husband, and he took out a $10 million insurance policy on her life back in the 1930s.
Wow.
And when she disappeared, he was a wealthy man. 10 million was a lot of money back then.
Oh yeah.
He wanted. He was in the industry till he was in the 90s. And he started all that nonsense. He even had a guy named Tommy, black guy he hired in the mid 60s. Tommy, don't you think you're being a little harsh with your people here? I mean, some of what they do is understandable. George, they just make me so mad. They got into this now where you don't get news, you get somebody's opinion to push their agenda because it's propaganda. And I heard them 50 years ago carefully plotting out how they were going to take control of the news media, entertainment, and certain aspects of finance and business so that they could get their agenda pushed. It's anti-man, and that's one of the problems that we have now is too much of what's out there is anti-man. And you see, you need that element of manhood to make society peaceful. Now, granted, sometimes the overall effect is not too peaceful because to be a human on this planet Earth requires that things die. Now and then I like to assert myself at the top of the food chain, and I like to eat a piece of meat. So something has to die. Every now and then, you know, you need a reminder that there are a lot of things that used to love humans as a breakfast, lunch, dinner, midnight snack. And they don't anymore, and they are endangered because we put them in check. And the same creature, just like tigers, lions, panthers, grizzly bears, black bear, polar bear, everything out there that kills for a living. Sometimes when it gets competitive, it kills itself. So you have the skill of the hunter wrapped up with the zest of the warrior. And some people need killing. And I kid you not, that's why we have warriors and the death penalty. And on more than one occasion, the news media was all hot to see blood when the jury was deliberating on the fate of some defendant accused of murder. And the jury came back with a question several times. Your Honor, if we feel the victim deserved killing, do we have to convict the defendant?
Yeah, people like we need this type of pushback. It's time for we need some balance, we need some leverage, and we need people like you. We need more people standing up behind you just to support the right for you to say what you're saying. Not necessarily always agreeing with everything, but support the right for you to say it.
Other thing too, I challenge anybody running in this mayor's race to walk by themselves when it starts getting dark in the neighborhoods that represent part of their constituency without a police escort.
I mean, young Dolph tried to do that. You see, he got killed in broad daylight, though, Judge.
Young Dolph can't do what I can do.
Not even, I mean, he's dead now, but yeah, but
I'm taking somebody to Valhalla with my ass if it goes down like that.
I hear you.
My goddamn John Wick on it. I can do it better than what you see in the movies.
I heard that. Are you gonna check out the Matrix movie, Resurrections?
Yes, I am. And another thing too, if you're doing something, don't turn your back on a plate glass window in a big business with nobody watching your six.
You know what happened, Judge? They said that he took a phone call right before he got killed, that he was distracted by a phone call. I want to know who made that phone call to him. Maybe that might be a lead.
Anybody. I get a bunch of them all day long from all kinds of sources, including from you, young brother. So, phone calls are phone calls. But it's how you take the phone calls and you watch your six. Be situationally aware. Not saying somebody can't get the drop on you.
Yeah, I mean, but everybody, you have presidents got killed with security guard, Secret Service and stuff. I mean, if they want you, they could get you. Eventually.
If somebody wants to go play kamikaze, they can go get you, Sixth Fleet couldn't stop the kamikazes. The Seventh Fleet and Fifth Fleet couldn't either. But it is what it is. But
yeah, but Memphis is like, people talking about it's the wild, wild west out here because everybody can carry a gun, it seems, without any problem.
It's more people need to carry them. See, here's the thing. Where was young Dolph's pistol?
He supposed to have a Judge, you breaking up a little bit. You breaking up a little bit.
Why wasn't he armed? If he could buy one, he could carry one in Tennessee. Didn't he have Tennessee as his residence?
I think he had a gun. I'm not sure. I think he had guns sometimes, but sometimes you might not be able to react in time. And he supposed to have a bodyguard with him, but I don't know.
Then practice until you can.
Say it again, Judge.
You can. You're supposed to be proficient enough to put a quarter on the back of your hand, draw and fire before the quarter hits the ground with whatever you packing it in.
Yeah, but if you're distracted by a phone call and people running, not telling you what's going on.
You're supposed to get distracted. Situational awareness. You walk down a jungle trail, you get distracted. The jaguar, the panther, the lion, and the tiger is going to have you for a meal.
I hear you. Yes, sir. But people get killed in churches and barbershops and movie theaters. And
should have been armed. I know a lot of armed preachers personally. They're always packing heat.
Oh, it's Memphis, man. I hear you.
Some of them, they need to stop screwing all those women in the congregation because it might be somebody's wife, but
Joe, you're an expert on ballistics and guns and all that stuff. Like, somebody want me to ask you about like Nipsey Hussle, the rapper, and the young Dolph case, but there's no video that we have seen. But she wanted to know, why was there not any blood coming out of Nipsey Hussle when he was killed, even though he was shot with bullets? Why you couldn't see any blood coming out of his body?
sometimes the blood does not exit the body, it stays internally, stays inside. Fat can close over certain type of wounds if they are small diameter wounds. Sometimes it's a mess.
Okay, that's what I'm glad you answered that question for us. You just wondering. I said, I don't.
One of the problems with why police shoot so many times is, in the heat of the moment, a lot of times people aren't sure they actually hit the target. I can take somebody to the range and test them, and if they aren't very good, they won't hit the target from not too far away every time they shoot. When the adrenaline gets pumping, when it's after dark, when things are moving fast, the target's jinking around, you might be moving around, shaking from the adrenaline or pure fright. You may not be confident that you hit the target. And oftentimes, when a target is hit by, say, a pistol bullet, it doesn't show any reaction at all. And people who are professionals and go in the line of hazard often, when everything calms down, they'll check each other out, man. Find anything? No, you're clean. In other words, it's not uncommon for somebody to have been shot and not realize it. So they want to find out before they bleed out or it gets more serious. So that's why you shoot until you see some results. Don't shoot one time, because the odds are as a pistol bullet's not going to stop the fight. You don't shoot the wound, you shoot to kill, because even if you're trying to kill, most people can't do any better than wound. Now, you may fatally injure somebody, kill them with one shot, but they're not going to die for 6 or 7 hours. Or I've had cases in my court where a person's heart was completely destroyed, all 4 chambers, with a well-placed 45 caliber hollow point to the center of the chest. But if you completely destroy a human's heart, they can operate for 10 seconds. That's enough for a good sprinter to run a 100-yard dash, or somebody like Usain Bolt to run 100 meters. Before and then after 10 seconds, they can do a lot of damage back to you. Let's try that. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right. Mark. End. You can kill quite a few people in those 10 seconds before you keel over.
Yeah. It's like a long time, actually. It seemed longer than 10 seconds.
That was only 10
people
seconds.
when they in, I guess, gunfire, just 10 seconds. So what
people
about,
don't
do you
go
perform
boom,
CPR
like they do in the movies? That's for dramatic effect. They get hit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Judge, let me ask you this.
Killing somebody with a knife, they stab him 15, 20, 25 times. The guy stabs somebody and nothing happens. He says, oh, hell, is this Superman? Stabs him again. The process of death or incapacitation is loss of blood pressure. So you keep stabbing him and you accelerate the loss of blood pressure. And then finally, after 25 times or so, you see some results.
Now, is it smart to do CPR on a gunshot victim?
Sometimes, depends.
What were they shot in the chest like Malcolm X?
And beware of sucking chest wounds too. You may have to see them so the person's lung doesn't collapse. Put pressure on the wound. Somebody stop breathing, you want to keep oxygen in the system, do what you can.
Oh, okay. I just want to not just thought, okay. And also,
now, I'm not an expert on it, but I am qualified as a rescue diver, so I had to go through that. So if you pull somebody out of the ocean.
And also, I got to ask you about the young Dolph thing. I know there's people always talking about, well, if he was shot from the outside, how come his arm was out of the window at the bottom? And some people think that he might have been shot from the inside. So, like, is it possible? I don't know. I think his bodyguard guy moved his body too, allegedly. So is it possible to shoot somebody and
Maybe
then they
to
still come
check and see
forward?
if he
Or
is alive or if there's a pulse.
yeah,
See, people don't get blown backwards or blown out of their shoes like they make out in Hollywood. A person
okay.
shot from the front is just as likely to fall straight forward toward the shot as he is to fall backwards or sideways.
Even if it's like a assault weapon or something.
Yeah, I mean, so-called ARs, Armalite 15 is only a 22 caliber weapon. They have conversion kits where you can shoot 22 rimfire down the same barrel. It's just a 22. In the military, they've had this on again, off again debate about the bullet's too small to do any real damage to anybody. And for hunting purposes, usually you use that caliber to deal with varmints, squirrels, groundhogs, and gophers and stuff like that.
Wow. I mean, it's good. That's why I'm talking to you, Judge. You are an expert on this type of stuff. And what? Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that jingle review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.